You're listening to STP Radio.
Welcome back to STP Radio. I'm your host, Mike Lyles, and I'm so excited to conduct another interview with not one, not two, but three of the upcoming speakers at our Spring 2017 STPCon conference. In case you've not signed up yet, STPCon will be in Phoenix, Arizona from March 14th through the 17th this year. And if you reach out to me, I can share a discount code for your registration. Be sure to check out STPCon.com, where you can learn more about the conference, the speakers, our special events, and our conference pricing. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Look for @SoftwareTestPro on both of these social networks. So let's meet our guests for today. Today is a special broadcast as we have three members of our Keynote Panel joining us. We have Amber Race, Eric Proegler, and Henrik Andersson. Welcome to the STP Radio Show, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So at this point in our show, we usually share the audience the bio of each of our speaker, and then we ask the speaker to share how they got into testing. But with a show this big, I would like to ask each of you to tell us a little bit about yourself, what sort of work you do, and then how you got into testing. So let's start with you, Amber.
Hi. So my name is Amber Race, and I'm a senior SDET at Big Fish Games in Seattle, Washington. I've been there since 2008, mostly testing back-end web services and APIs for casual games. And prior to that, I was working at Microsoft for about 10 years on handwriting recognition and the tablet PC. So kind of have a wide range of testing experience from that. And I guess that sums up my testing experience. I basically got into testing because of my Japanese experience, is why I was hired into handwriting recognition, and I took it from there. So you never know where things are going to end up.
That is amazing. We're going to talk about some of those things, about your workshops and sessions as well, and I got some things to share with you. So
Thank you.
How about you, Eric?
Hi, my name is Eric Proegler. I'm a senior manager in software quality assurance at Metadata Solutions. I'm building a team of context-driven testers in downtown San Francisco. So if you're interested, I'd love to hear from you. Test management is what I'm doing right now. My last role was to work at a tool vendor called Sosta, where I was the product manager for their load testing tool. And I spent a lot of years in load testing. I started out in functional testing because it's really fun to find ways to make things not work correctly.
All right. And how about you, Henrik?
Hello, Henrik Andersson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of House of Test Consulting, which is a consultancy in Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, and South Africa. I started out in testing in 98. And I actually started out at a medical device company, and I applied for a job that I thought was on ISO 9000 and those kind of regulatory parts. And it turned out when I got the job and at my first day that it was a system test group testing medical device. And from there on, I got hooked on testing.
Well, that's a great way to start. And I'll tell all three of you guys, as I ask different people on the STP Radio Show, what are some of the things they're looking forward to in the conference? A lot of your workshops and sessions are really coming up. Folks are really interested in hearing about what you're going to speak about. And this keynote panel that we're going to talk about today is definitely one that everyone is really talking about a lot. So, Amber, you have a workshop called Jump into JMeter, and our conference has many performance testing professionals in attendance, and each time we find there is a hunger to learn more and be even more productive in their craft. For those that have never used JMeter, this is an excellent opportunity for them to learn the tool, how to use it, and to be able to take this immediately back to their organization and use. So what are some of the takeaways you want the attendees to get from the workshop?
Well, like you said, JMeter is an extremely useful tool for people that want to do some load and performance testing, people that are just getting started or want to do more. And I think the problem with JMeter is that it has such a rich set of capabilities, but it's very difficult to learn. It's very intimidating when people first look at it. And so hopefully people will come to the workshop and they'll see how they can make very simple tests and more complicated tests and be able to use all the rich reporting capabilities of JMeter to really help their testing.
Well, there's a lot of folks really interested in coming. I've heard it through a lot of the folks in the community. So get ready for a large crowd of folks there.
I'm looking forward to it.
And we're looking forward to having you share this with folks.
I think there's a big appetite for learning some practical stuff about actually operating a tool, because not to spoil our keynote too much, but I think that there's a lot of testers feeling pressure to skill up and do more and more things that are tool assisted. And the trick is for us is to convince them that it's not just a matter of do I know how to make the tool do something? Can I use the tool to help me do the right thing?
That's right. And that's why I wanted to offer the workshop, because I've been to a lot of talks about performance, and there's sort of a lot of eagerness to do this sort of testing, but not really knowing where to start. So hopefully this will help with that.
I agree. And Eric, on the same lines with performance testing, you have a workshop called Performance Testing 101. Most performance testing professionals did not start their careers in this area. Most of us have been asked to take it up as a new role or in addition to other testing that is being conducted. Everybody knows the struggles in learning a new area and a new skill. We've talked for a long time about a Performance Testing 101 course. Well, now we have one. And we are so happy that you're going to be coaching folks on the art and craft of performance testing with your experience. And this workshop is all set to help people new to performance testing, but also give clarity to those that have been doing it already. So what are some of the things that you hope that the attendees take away from your workshop?
Well, I think that performance testing is a really deep field, and you can keep finding more depths to how you create workload models and how you analyze results. And we do a lot of sessions where we're trying to explore that for an experienced audience. But it's, as Amber was saying, it's super intimidating to be on square one and how do I load test? And we need to get more people doing this. I mean, everyone I've ever talked to who's in performance testing got kind of shoved into the role because they showed technical acumen and
because nobody else was doing it.
Right, figured out. And we have people at STPCon who have an interest in performance, or maybe like with you, Mike, where you have a testing background and then you take on some performance responsibilities as you go. That's a pretty common thing. Right. Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe if I can provide the index to performance testing, people will have a good idea where to start.
And when I got into that role, it was I wanted to do that, and I took on two areas I had never managed when I moved to this group, and I took on actually three: performance testing, automation, and service virtualization. And that was a whole brand new world for me. I'd done functional test management and driving teams, and had done automation hands-on myself, but I had not led teams doing this. And I got a hunger for the performance testing because there's a saying, that testers don't break things, they find them broken, but performance testers do break things. And your goal is to break it, and it may not be broken until you touch it. And no discredit or disservice to the other crafts, because I love all of testing from every angle. But I learned so much in those 2 years that I led performance testers and performance engineers, and I found the difference between those two, and it was really eye-opening for me, and it was really exciting to see what these guys could do and their drive to make those things show up to the organization.
Performance testing is the best video game out there, even though the graphics kind of suck.
That's so true. You're right. Well, now, Henrik, you have a workshop with Leo Heppes called "What Do You Bring to the Picnic? Improve Your Teamwork and Your Teamwork Contribution." Now, one of the things that many organizations fail to focus on is that team aspect and how to ensure the most effective teams. We see sports teams failing to be successful if everyone's not working together, as evidenced by the Super Bowl last night. People not understanding their role, and if they're not focused on the same goal, it's the same thing with testing and testing organizations. You and Leo have held several workshops related to teamwork, composition, leadership, and I think this one is another workshop where you're going to talk about and I took a quote from your description, intra-group dynamics as well as inter-group dynamics. So can you share with us what you will be doing in this workshop and what you want the attendees to get from this workshop?
Absolutely. So the old saying, there is no I in a team. Me and Leo believes there are several I's in a team. And the team consists of individual people. And what the team achieves is based on what each individual contribute to the team and to the task at hand. And we will have a look at in this workshop how group dynamics works and how each member of a team constitutes or can affect the outcome of what the team achieve. So what contribution does each and everyone in a team have on the output? So what we're going to do is basically set up a couple of simulations where smaller teams will get some project to deliver. And we will have observers, and after the project is done, we will have a debrief on what happened during this exercise where the team needed to, under time pressure, deliver something. And what did the team do? What decisions did the team make? Who did the decisions? What contribution did each and every person have to the team, and how did that affect the outcome? So it's very much about making people aware of how you act in a team and how you relate to others, and how that affects the whole dynamic of one team, but also in between teams, since we often in bigger organizations are dependent on other groups as well.
Well, and I think working outside of that team, once I've worked in organizations where the team didn't get along, and you could see that, and the stakeholders and the clients saw that, and they lose their confidence. And I think this goes beyond just being able to have a team that is constructive and you work together and you're productive. It goes well beyond that, because if you can show that we're collaborative, we're working together, we're working with the whole organization, then you get people that can start buying into what you're doing. But if you can't share with them, here's my why, here's what I'm doing, here's why I'm doing what we're doing, they don't buy into it as easily. And I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think we have a bit of that problem in testing generally also, that we are not so good on explaining what we do and how and why we do things. It becomes a bit of a mystery what testers do. And if we get better on explaining what we do and how we contribute to a team and the success of a project, the respect for the testing practice and understanding of testing practice will definitely rise.
Yeah, I did a keynote in Dallas last STPCon, and I got that very same thing. I interviewed about 40 people in testing, some big names across, some of you guys as well, across the testing community, and I asked some questions. What are some of the struggles? And the one thing that I saw, and if you could see me, I've got one hand coming in and another hand coming in, meeting each other, and basically what I heard loud and clear was, the biggest problem we have right now is two things hitting each other head on, and that is organizations don't understand the value of testing, and testing organizations don't know how to sell the value of testing. And when you got the two of them together, you've got the perfect storm for a very difficult time in your organization, I believe.
Absolutely.
I think it's tough all over with that sort of thing. There's such a focus on velocity that it becomes hard to defend testing as a necessary part of software development. Yeah,
that is you're right. And Henrik said something a minute ago about doing things fast. I think we're getting faster and faster. We're being asked to do things more fast. And I always think of, and not everybody may remember this, but Lucy in the Chocolate Factory in the old I Love Lucy show, and chocolates are coming out, and by the end of it, she's trying to keep up with them on the conveyor belt and put them in wrappers. and she starts putting them in her shirt. She starts eating them. She starts throwing them off the conveyor belt. And I think that's what we get into sometimes, is we get to that point where we're trying to keep up so fast that we're just losing that, momentum.
And I think also what happens is that there's this push to get things out really quickly, and we're going to just put it out there. And then when there's the inevitable failure because there wasn't time to test, then all of a sudden people realize, oh, maybe we should take a little extra time up front.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still stuck with the fallacy that they could test quality in, and if something is of poor quality, it must be because it wasn't tested correctly.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great quote. So, Amber, you have a session called Mailing It In, using Postman to deliver first-class results. And just the same as your JMeter workshop, you've developed a session that coaches testers on how to use the Postman tool with exploratory testing, test automation, and continuous test integration. And this is one of the ones that many people on the radio show have been saying, I want to hear this, I want to be part of this. And can you share with us more about this session and what
Sure.
you plan to teach to the attendees?
Yeah, I did this session at STPCon fall in Dallas as well, and seemed like people enjoyed it. But basically, Postman, I don't work for Postman. I don't get any money from Postman. I just think it's a very useful tool for exploring APIs. It's a rich client, REST client, and it's standalone, and you can take the various inputs and you can play with them, and you can play with the cookies and headers, and there's even scripting capabilities. So once again, it's something where you can do very simple things and also complex things as well. And it's the kind of thing where you don't have to have a lot of programming knowledge to get started in it. So people that are feeling the pressure to skill up, instead of just being manual testers, which I think just being a manual tester is fine, but there's a lot of pressure to be more than that. And
That's
tools
true.
like Postman are a great way to sort of move up the ladder in that sense.
And you're right.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Like, if you need a first toe in the water on how this stuff works once you're no longer driving a mouse, that's a great place to start, I think.
Yes.
Well, and you said it right. I think that a lot of organizations, they put that in their yearly reviews. They say, I need you to get more. I need you to upskill. I need you to learn new skills. I need you to go out and learn something new. And people are, looking around. What do I learn? Do I learn Selenium? Do I learn automation? Do I learn performance? What kind of things can I learn? So I like what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Eric, you have a session called Early Performance Testing. What else shifts beside left? And we see approaches in testing changing over the last several years. People are moving to be more agile. They're integrating DevOps in their programs. With these new changes and approaches in their SDLC, we're finding testing teams executing tests earlier in the life cycle. And the age-old term shift left has been there forever, but it's a true statement. People are doing it. The description for your session says it nicely. What can we do to provide actionable and timely information about performance and reliability when the software is not complete? And I know this is surely a struggle for testing teams. Would love to hear you tell us a little bit about what you plan to teach to your attendees.
So I think that a lot of my perspective on this is from coming as a traditional performance tester who was trained how to do performance testing as a dress rehearsal exercise. So that right before we went live, we could find the problems that would either stop the whole thing or would identify what to work on in phase 2. But it was very, very late in the process, and it presumes this idea of playing back a perfect simulation. And it's the same, and it'll be some sort of we can run one experiment and we'll find out about the reliability of the system. We'll find out about the scalability of the system. We'll find out about the performance of the system. And it puts all of these eggs in one basket and tries to make one elaborate, complicated test. But what I found is that the continuous integration style performance test, once you give up on trying to do a dress rehearsal, and it's just practicing a scene, if you will, it's much more effective and much more timely. The primary example is logging onto a system. As soon as there's a login and a password, you can start running that test, and then you can look for the performance regression in that activity. In a functional test, you usually do an assert, in your automation, and did I get what I expected or not? Did I pass or fail? Then performance, that's a more complicated measurement. So we're talking about things like, is it no more than 10% slower than the last time, for example, or can I achieve the same sort of TPS? And it's kind of it's a whole different ballgame than the way performance testing used to be. So, all the lessons I had to learn that way, I'm trying to share them with other people. People that are used to thinking about things in terms of unit testing, it comes a little easier to them. But it's probably good to really talk about what it is that we're trying to measure in a continuously integrated performance test.
I think that's a great description of the session, and I really, really think people are going to enjoy this and enjoy what you're sharing with them, even if they've been doing performance testing for a long time. I think there's new ideas and new ways of thinking that are really going to help them, change up what they do when they take it back to their office. So last but surely not least, each of you will be part of a keynote entitled Test Revolution. Now this R is in parentheses. We entitled it Evolution Revolution. So it's Test Revolution 3, an expert panel on software testing. Now for those listening and asking, why is this number 3? Well, that's because we started this with an expert panel a year ago. We found it so interesting and great that we did it again last September in Dallas as part 2. And this has been a successful part of the program because we take questions from the testing community before the conference, and then we also open the floor to the audience to ask questions to the panel as well. And we're so happy to have each of you be part of this panel, and I'm honored to have you guys be on the panel and do this with us. And I'd like to have each of you share with us what you think or what you look the most forward to in this panel and what you expect to get out of it. And let's start with Henrik.
Of course, what I'm most curious about is what the audience questions will be. This is a great opportunity to take a temperature on the testing practice. What are people struggling with? What are their thoughts of the future of testing? And getting some temperature on what's on testers' minds today in organizations, what challenges they have is very curious to me. It will be very interesting.
Okay, and how about you, Amber?
Yeah, I agree with what Henrik said, sort of getting the temperature of what's going on at other companies. And sort of there's this constant pendulum that's going back and forth. Are we going to be manual or automated? Are we going to have more testing or less testing? We've sort of coming through a phase where a lot of organizations thought, well, maybe we don't need people that are specifically testers, but then again, maybe we do need people that are specifically testers. So this back and forth is interesting to witness and learn about.
And how about you, Eric?
I'm really impressed by Henrik's answer. The humility.
Thank you.
We have the experience that we have. We don't know what everybody else's experience is. And there's a lot of people walking around waving their hands, talking about how everything is shifting left or everyone has to become an SDET. And the more people you talk to, the more you realize that there isn't really one idea that everybody has, and there isn't really one prescription. That being said, testing the last 15 years or so has had these so many remarkable changes in how it's done that sampling that both Amber and Henrik talked about of what people are doing is always really interesting because there's so many new things being done in testing, and hardly anyone's doing testing the way they did it 20 or 25 years ago. Not that nobody's doing it, but with all this change, it's always great to get a fresh reading. It's been 6 months since the last STPCon. What's on people's minds now?
Yeah. Well, and it's always neat to see new people join, and that's their first time to a major conference. And when you hear them ask questions, sometimes in the audience, you're thinking to yourself, "Well, I've known this for a long time," but they don't. And I think that's the beautiful part of workshop sessions, but that this keynote is even more insightful because people can just spur of the moment ask you something, and it's never failed to be impressive. The panels have always been very responsive, and people have challenged some folks on the panel. So you guys got to be ready for that, because I think there's going to be folks in the audience. We as testers and in the testing community are very passionate about what we do, and there's some things we feel we do better than anybody else. So you want to ask somebody, hey, can you do this? And if they say, yeah, they go, well, you can't do it as good as me. So and I think there will be some challenges. Yeah. So you guys, you're gonna meet those people, and I'm telling you now, be ready for that. But I think it's exciting because I've seen some people on the panels really answer that question. They don't stutter. They don't stop. They don't let it get them, push back on their heels. They just answer the question and they say, here's how I feel. And this is what I think. So I think it's very entertaining, especially when you've got an audience that really wants to ask a lot of questions. And what we have found is the last two that we have done, we have to stop the questions before the questions stop. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun in this panel.
But getting people's experience is really helpful. I mean, you can't argue with somebody's experience. What they saw at work and what they chose to do. I mean, that's what they did. I found that the more I study like how people test, I'm way more interested in hearing a detailed experience and why they chose to decide the method they implemented than anybody trying to pronounce what the right way to do things is with all caps. Like that's the kind of talk I'll walk out of.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And you guys have your workshops are hands-on. People love that. I've seen that in workshops. If you're sitting there for 4 hours, 3 hours, and you're just listening to a lecture, you're getting tired, you're getting sleepy, and you guys have got some great workshops with some great entertaining inputs for the audience to be part of.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So I'm sure all three of you have seen the awesome program lineup we have. And to me, I've done this I'm going on my 6th year now. And if you look over the keynotes and sessions and workshops, I think that they're some of the best ones we've had. We've got folks from every part of the planet. It's more large of a program than I've seen I think in my history with STPCon, and I'm excited. But I wanted to say to you guys, if you look over the keynote sessions and workshops, what are some of the things you're seeing out there that interest you the most, and can you tell us what things you hope to take away from them?
I must agree. It's indeed an impressive program here, and it's hard to choose what to attend. It's so many things here. If I gonna pick a couple here, I would definitely go to my fellow Swede, Maria Kedemo, and her workshop on dimensions of testability. Because I think testability is one of those areas that is so extremely important and something that I think every tester should learn very much about and be expert in. Because think about it, it's about how can we design and build a product that we actually can test. And here is an area where we as testers can come in early and contribute with great value to a project, and helping our team design a product that we actually can test in a useful way. So I think that's a very important workshop for people. I'm also, we talked about it before, very curious about Eric's performance testing 101. This and I'm curious about Mark Tomlinson and Dan Billings' workshop, which is a bit in the same area, non-functional testing for functional testers. Both of these are something I see very much in our consulting, that now with Agile and you join Agile teams, that you as a tester, you need to be much broader, and you need to know a bit about non-functional and performance testing, and getting the opportunity to go to some workshops around this to get some skills where you can help out your team on at least a basic level in these areas. I think that's very important. Those are some very interesting workshops for me.
Well, those are great picks. I've always said that we have some of the best performance testing gurus in the business coming to STPCon. You're picking out Eric and Mark, and the others. I think that people get to hear from folks who have done this, have lived this, and have really done a lot of work in this field. And then Maria, we've approached her multiple times through the years to say, come speak with us. I saw her speak in another conference not long ago, and I said, we'd love to have her be part of the show. And when I think about people all over the planet, it's you and she are going to be there, and we've got folks from all over the place, and people that have been speaking for a long time but just haven't spoken at STPCon yet. So great picks. So how about you, Amber?
So as far as workshops go, I was looking at the pair testing workshops. Pair testing is something that I've always wanted to be able to do and have not actually been able to do it in practice. I often find myself in a position of mentoring the developers on how they can test better. And so pair testing is a great tool for that. So I was looking at Jess Lancaster's pair testing workshop, and there's actually 2 pair testing workshops. So yeah. I think that's great that, if there's a conflict on another day, that people will be able to go to that. As far as sessions go, I was also looking at Maria Kedemo's asking powerful questions. I think that's really one of the key things that testers do, is ask the questions about a product, because while developers tend to have a narrow focus on their features, I think the tester's job is to have a wider focus on the entire product, or how this feature is going to work with everything else or with the customer. So asking the right questions is super important. So I'm looking forward to that talk. And finally, Angie Jones, building trust in your continuous integration tests. That's something I'm always eager to learn more about, because the failing test is always a problem, the false negatives, and then people turn off the test and they're not there anymore. And then what's all your work been for? So I think, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Angie Jones speak. I know she's a rising star, so it's great that she's going to be at STPCon.
You're picking some really good ones as well, and I love your point on pair testing. As we were putting together the program, and we saw, hey, we've got 2 pair testing workshops, and the first impulse of anyone putting together a program is, well, we don't need 2. But then when we started looking at the differences, it's like these 2 are sodas, but they're not. One's Coke and one's Pepsi. It's like 2 totally different views of what pair testing is, and both of them have done a great job with us in the past, and have had some really good feedback and inputs from the attendees on both of these workshops. So we're really excited and can't wait to have them there. And obviously Angie Jones, it's her first time. She's a local North Carolina tester here, just not far from me. And her first time at STPCon, and a lot of folks are really looking forward to what she's going to be doing as well. So it's going to be good.
I'm sorry to be tiresome when I get to my part, but Angie Jones is also who I was most excited about seeing, both for subject and both the reputation she's quickly building in our field. When I see the kind of stuff she's writing and the kind of stuff she's talking about, I think she really understands automation as part of a pipeline as well as anybody I've ever anybody that I've followed, and I'm really interested to see what she has to share. This is really powerful stuff, and as Amber said, she's definitely a star.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. You don't meet many people like the Dave Hefner types. Dave Hefner, most of the people that are really, really academic and really, really strong in a certain field, sometimes they're so serious about that, you don't get that, inviting personality. And I see that in like a Dave Hefner, but you also see that in Angie Jones as well. It's very, very engaging with the community, and a lot of people are looking at her and trying to learn what she's bringing to the table, but she's also supporting her local testers and her and the testing community as a whole. And I think that's really building her reputation across the group.
And she's a practitioner too. Like 10 years from now, she'll be a consultant and she'll be out of test, out of touch, like with so many of the people who've gone deep into a specialty. With what it's like to be somebody who's, did the job and trying to be effective. I think she's still in the thick of it, and that's pretty helpful.
Well, I have one final question for each of you guys, and just briefly, all of you have been with STPCon for some time, and Can you share with the audience what you like about it and what advice you would give to the attendees coming to the show? Let's start with you, Henrik.
What I love about STP, I've been at your conference several times, and I every time enjoy it very, very much. I like the open vibe, the atmosphere where speakers and attendees and organizers all very easy to approach, very easy to talk to. The environment where you have the receptions and drink, you drink drinks and these kind of things where you invite people and make it easy for people to interact and get to know each other. That's very much what I like about STPCon. My advice to people visiting the conference is that be open, don't be shy, ask questions, be part of the conference. It's not about the speakers. They are there to just get your mind going. It's the audience who actually makes the conference, and what the audience and attendants contribute to the conference. That's what makes it special.
Agreed. And how about you, Amber?
Yeah, so this is going to be my 4th STPCon, my 3rd as a speaker. And it's so friendly and everybody's very approachable. And I think really taking advantage of all the networking opportunities. It was hard for me at my first one. I don't know if I really talked to anybody very much, but I find as I talk to more people and just talking with people in different companies and different industries, it's really valuable to get a wider look at testing practice and what other people are doing. And I think that's really the most important thing that people can do is just to get out there and try to talk to different people, because everybody's very friendly and the STPCon does a lot to make it easy for people to mingle and learn about each other.
Agree. And how about you, Eric?
I'd say that the attendees, the quality is very high in terms of people who have some experience. Some conferences, you get a lot of newbies. STP is right in them. It's got a bunch of people who've been doing this for a while. You can learn a lot from them. They're people who've been in testing for a bit and are looking to grow their skills and looking to see what else is going on out there. So there's some great opportunities to meet people and learn some stuff. And I guess I urge attendees of this conference and other ones too, but especially this one, don't show up planning to spend your time in your laptop, because there's too many cool people who are into the same stuff you are all around. So you better make sure you make time to have meals with them and have drinks with them and get enough sleep so that you can give your talk in the morning properly. Oh, wait, sorry, that's my problem. And, make sure you make good use of this opportunity, because testing is a lonely profession sometimes, and we're kind of off in a corner, and especially in performance. And so STPCon is really when like the performance practitioner community. That's when we meet up. You got to make good use of this time where you have so many interesting people to talk to.
Agree. I love it. And I'll give all 3 of you advice about drinking water on the panel. They've made the lids smaller now on the water bottles. They're like half the height of the lids. And I was sitting on the panel in Dallas, and I screwed the top off the lid. And as I squeezed the water bottle a little bit too much and got it to bring it up to my mouth to drink it, it went everywhere. It was on my shirt. It was on my pants. I had on khaki pants. It was my shirt was soaked. And so I had to add 3 more questions for my clothes to dry so I wouldn't stand up and look like that I had just soaked myself everywhere. And because everybody in the panel was saying, why did we have more questions? I'm like, because I was not going to stand up soaking wet. And not many people, a couple guys on the front row said, we saw that. And I said, okay, but I thought I covered it up well, but I didn't
see it
too well.
A likely story, Mike. A likely story.
Very likely. So folks, Eric, Amber, Henrik, it's been so great to talk to each one of you. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for being part of this. And most of all, thank you for being part of our panel at the next conference.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in Phoenix. And everyone out there, this concludes our next episode of STP Radio. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes coming soon. And if you haven't signed up for the conference yet, What are you waiting for? Get out there and register, and we'll see you in Phoenix in March.
Thanks for listening to this episode of STP Radio, and stay tuned for more episodes. Learn more about the conference being held in Phoenix, Arizona, March 14th through 17th by visiting STPCon.com.